opposition today understands the difficulties and the uphill task they face, and therefore are not confident enough that if we have a peaceful environment and go for an election today, they don't have the confidence that they will win and succeed, because they know where the sympathies of the people are. So their strategy, rather than trying to persuade and win over people, and unfortunately they don't have much records to do so, is to first wage a war of massive and very vicious propaganda. You know, when somebody tells you they have done nothing, right? And you sit in this hall and you look around you and say, wow, if this is not something, then, then what is something? So their first plan is to invest in vicious and vile propaganda. And their next is to put fear, intimidation, and scare people from coming out to exercise their franchise.
While the people of Edo State and indeed the entire world bore witness to these monstrous atrocities and reports in shame, the outgoing governor, Mr. Obaseki, paraded himself before cameras and microphones, offering a defense of his grotesque mathematics and understanding of democracy, which holds that 7 persons are greater than 17. Can 7 be indeed greater than 17? The answer, of course, is an emphatic no. Godwin Obaseki is clearly the aggressor in this plot. The one man who has refused the reign of peace, who has remained standing in the way of justice and fairness, who has put his knees on the neck of our democracy in Edo State. As the trajectory of the election reveals that the odds are against him, one may not wonder what he stands to gain from these anti-democratic practices of jackboot democracy. However, whatever the case may be, the wise counsel should be that Godwin Obaseki gets off the way of the majority, should stay clear of the people's will, and let the general will of the people prevail. The legislative arm is a co-equal branch of government with a constitutionally protected independence from external interference or pressure under the principles of separation of powers.
Okay, well, to look ahead of the forthcoming elections, we've got Mr. Collins Okonofua, who is a lawyer and a member of the APC, joining us via Skype. And we also have Don Pedro Obaseki, who is a member of the PDP, joining us via Zoom as well. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on the program. Mr. Okonofua, let me start with you. With all of this back and forth as to who is saying what and the impression that is leaving on the people, do you think that at the end of the day, this contest is going to be about the issues, what they have done, what they stand for, and the best candidate wins?
Well, thank you very much, Chamberlain. Of course, we are trying to ensure that these campaigns remain issue-based and not go dirty the way the PDP folks are trying to make it to be. I mean, how do you explain a situation where, people are trying to enforce their rights and go into the House of Assembly, to become members as they were elected to be, and the next thing you see is the governor who goes there to begin to take off the roof from the building and pour tips of sand and granite on the place to make the place impossible to access. And then when they talk, you are asking yourself, are we talking about the issues? This is a man who has been a governor for 4 years or less. Just a few months, less than 4 years. And ask him what he has done.
When you say the governor going there to take off the roof, what do you mean? Did you see him going there to take off the roof?
Oh, well, the government took off the roof. the government took off the roof, and there's nothing the government can do without the governor authorizing it. Okay, so now when you hear the campaign issues that they bring up, you are wondering, this is a man who has been in government for 3 years and 10 months or so. Tell us, for God's sake, the things you have done upon which we should assess you. We should not be talking about Oshomole and all of those things. Tell us, a man who has been in government for 3 years and 10 months should be telling the populace, I want to be governor again for another 4 years because of these things that I have done upon which I expect you to assess me. But no, that's not what we're seeing. We are seeing brigandage at its highest peak right now. We are seeing Togri, which he claimed he had abolished in Edo State. And so
just hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Let's bring in Mr. Don Pedro Obaseki. Well, yes, it appears as though the back and forth in terms of the break barrier may not seem to end as it were. Accusations as to who went to the assembly for that purpose still reign supreme. But from your perspective, is the governor really talking about what he's done, as the APC is saying that is not what he seems to be doing?
I didn't. I just heard doing. I didn't hear any other thing you said prior to that.
Well, the APC is accusing Mr. Godwin Obaseki of not focusing on his achievements, but is rather choosing to talk about the former governor and deflate from the real issues. That's what the APC just says.
Everybody in Edo State knows those who are economical with the truth. All over Edo State and all over social media, you are aware of what the governor's done. We also know that it is the opposition APC that has decided to take all this out of cosmic balance. We know that it's the persons of the APC that has decided to break the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by just almost always resorting to palace, low-level, most unintelligent narratives. We all know that the APC within Edo State today are the ones that decided to go and carry out a blatantly treasonable inauguration of persons who have been issued on the same public domain that their seats have been declared vacant. It is also known that they are the ones who went and forged a Mace, which in all manners particular is a treasonable felony. So coming up with very base, mundane arguments is funny. We all know that the same governor that we are talking about what he has done, we know what he has done in terms of Edo Best. Lagos State government just adopted the Edo Best initiative. We all know that the National Union of Teachers had declared last year that Godwin is governor of the year based on what he has done in education. We all know that the 1973-74, the Edo State Secretariat was left as huge pillars standing in the middle of Benin without being completed since 1975. And we know today that Godwin has turned that into a cynosure of all eyes. So we all know those who are using Agberos. Thank God Okonofua said now that we thought he had removed Agberos from the streets. Who are the Agberos? He knows who they are, and he knows those are the ones who are the frontliners in the fight against the governor today, being monkeyed and backed by the ex-governor and ex-national chairman of the APC, right, and lot of other things. So we all know. So we know who is trying to skew the narrative. We know what will the APC campaign with.
Okay, let's ask him.
They have to, with what the governor had done, nothing
All right,
else.
Just hang on a minute. Let's ask him then. Well, Mr. Okonofua, speak to this when he talked about the inauguration of those members. He thinks that that cannot be and that you don't even have the Mace in the first place. Does that still stand?
Insisted, we have maintained that that inauguration was a nocturnal inauguration. It was carried out about 9:30 p.m. and only a few members were informed. And since then, the other members have been prevented from entering the house to begin to exercise their fundamental rights as members of parliament. And this is a clear breach of the Constitution. And we insist that these members have a right to get into the House of Assembly and do the work for which they have been elected. These people were elected as members of the House of Assembly, just in the same way as Governor Obaseki was elected as governor. He doesn't have any greater right than these people. Besides, the House of Assembly is a tier of government on its own. The interference of the executive, on the affairs of the legislature in Edo State, it's becoming unbearable. This cannot be allowed to go on. Now, these people, having been cut out of their work for more than 1 year, have come to themselves and say, we have to go back and assert ourselves and get our jobs back. And this is what they are doing. And any attempt to prevent them from doing that, we believe will make us some problems, because these people have been patient enough for more than 1 year now. Now, in an attempt to go back and resume their job, the next thing the government is doing is to take off the roof of the House of Assembly and make the place impossible to access. That's not the right thing to do. Now, we want to be focused on the issues. I must tell you, we want to be focused on
address what he spoke about. Just a minute. When he says that the members their seat had been declared vacant, and then processes already in place, they had gone on litigation for that purpose, upon what rule or law are they back as members to participate in proceedings in the House?
Now, who declared their seat vacant? Who declared their seat vacant? The illegal 8-member House of Assembly that declared their seat vacant. That House of Assembly that has been sitting since June 2019 has been an illegal House of Assembly. How do you have 8 members out of 24 members meeting and they call themselves, have they formed a quorum? No, they haven't. In any case, right now they have dwindled to 7. How does 7 become greater than 17? And seven people are claiming to have expelled 17 members of the House of Assembly. That cannot stand. That's an illegality.
Just hands on, Mr.
We are a society that is governed by the rule of law.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Don Pedro. Hold on, Mr. Okonofua. Let's bring in Mr. Don Pedro. Well, clearly he says that, well,
the problem here, Chamberlain, if you will let me speak, sir.
Go ahead. Can you hear me? Go ahead.
This is a very simple issue. And I think my friends are now beginning to express what you call clear sophistry. Let's put this thing in clear perspective. That in June 2019, the governor of Edo State wrote a proclamation of the House. Like we heard, he also mentioned it, that there was a nocturnal inauguration of, he said 9. Actually then, if I remember clearly, there were 12 members that were in the House that were inaugurated, rightly so. And we tried to educate them that the governor makes a proclamation. A proclamation proclaims the House. There is nothing in our extant laws that says everybody should be present. I will take you back to a case of in point. In June 2015, 49 APC members were not in the House as senators when Senator...
Hold on, your voice is coming through in the background. Just hold on. When Mr. Obaseki is done, we'll come to you, please. Mr. Obaseki, go ahead.
When Mr. Saraki was inaugurated as a Senate president, we are all aware that there were 49 members of the APC senators were not there. That does not invalidate the process. It may look unnice, but unfortunately, now they went to court. And the court on the 17th of September, the Federal High Court declared that the inauguration and proclamation was proper and in order, and to unquote, that the House of Assembly is properly constituted. What was required? I went on air. Many of us in Edo State begged all the remaining members to go and get inaugurated. Rather, they gathered in Abuja and stayed there for years. We are all aware. Now, on the issue follow procedure, I'm happy you asked him what law. The law states clearly in our constitution, as well as other extant laws of this country, that if you don't attend for 181 days, 180 days, on the 181st day, your seat automatically becomes vacant. And two of the members who were inaugurated also went away, and their seats became vacant. They cannot undo that. It is in law. We say that
all
is a
right,
res
some
judicata.
housekeeping here, gentlemen. Well, I'm not sure which of you, but Mr. Obaseki, you may need to turn down the volume of your TV set. It's just kind of howling back at us, so it doesn't interfere. But let me take it back to Mr. Okonofua about what the law and the provisions of the law, from what he has just said. Look, that if the matter has already gone for adjudication, it should wait until it's over and done with before the members can come back. Isn't that the position of the law? That's for you, Mr. Okonofua.
I didn't get the question, I'm sorry.
Well, from his perspective, that those members, if the seats have been declared vacant and they've gone to court for adjudication, you have to wait until the matter is over and done with, rather than resort to self-help.
Well, I mean, what do you do? I mean, they have been to court. A 7-member or 8-member House of Assembly is declaring the seats of 17 members vacant. Where does that happen? Where does that happen? This is the use of brute force, as a matter of fact. And we cannot sit down and allow this illegality to continue. I mean, there's got to be a stop to it.
It gave me a little bit of concern. Just one moment, Mr. Okonofua. Are you saying that the illegality, that what some have considered illegality on the part of these members who have just sworn themselves in, is in any way capable of correcting what they consider to be an illegality previously?
No. I would say, you know, what it is that illegality begets illegality. That's the truth. I mean, if the illegality has become so, obvious, what else do you want? Now you go to the court, for some reason, or by some means, the courts have been compromised. I'm sorry to say this. And these members know that they cannot get justice. So what do you want? These guys cannot keep staying out of their jobs for which they were elected, just in the same way as Godwin Obaseki was elected. He has no
Mr. Okonofua, let me clarify this from you. I mean, as a lawyer, you're saying that it is indeed right for the members to go on with their illegal act to justify or cancel out the illegality that has been done because the courts have been compromised.
Which court declared it illegal? What they did?
You just said illegality begets illegality. That's what you said.
No. What now? You are saying that what they did was illegal. And I'm asking you the question: who declared that act illegal? Which court declared it illegal?
Mr. Okonofua, you said illegality begets illegality.
Please let me land. The Attorney General gave the Commissioner of Police in Edo State instruction to give backing to these members to get into the house. The position of the law is that they are free to enter into the house and perform their function. So who declared it illegal?
Why do you say the courts have been compromised?
The chief law officer of the nation has told. Yes, I can hear you.
Why did you say the courts have been compromised?
No. I mean, to a large extent, we know that when you go to a high court in a particular state, for instance, all right, asking for judgment against the government of that state, you are not very likely to get judgment. And you and I know this is a sad reality that we face today.
You're the practitioner. You're the one who goes to court every day. So we're here doing our jobs. But that's what you're saying on good authority. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, I'm not on trial on this matter. What I've just told you is that the issue that we face is that these people have the backing of the law to go into the House of Assembly and perform the job for which they were elected.
What
that's
law?
Exactly what they have done.
What law justifies them? Just one moment.
The chief law officer of the nation.
Just one moment. The chief law officer of the nation is not the law of the nation. What law? On what premise does the members of this new set of lawmakers whose seats have been declared vacant because they breached a constitutional requirement of not sitting for 180 days. What law justifies them to swear themselves in? You're a lawyer.
Let me address the issue. You know, we have a problem in this nation where people close their eyes, to serial breaches of the law, and when somebody comes up to assert a position of the law, that's when they begin to cite illegality. Now, how do you compose a 24-member House of Assembly with 8 members ab initio, and the House and what you say, what your response is that they were invited. They were invited via a proclamation letter that did not get to them. What sense does it make for a member who contested the election and won the election, and now it's time to go and resume his job, and he says, no, I'm not going? Doesn't make sense, except he's deliberately shut out. So this is what has happened. And now you are asking me, why should they go in and swear themselves in or whatever? The answer is...
Let's clarify this for us so we can understand you properly. Well, you're saying that if a matter is in court and, they are not likely to get judgments in their favor, they might as well just go ahead and do what they did.
No.
Is that right? Is that your view?
No, that's not the point. The point I've made is these people were elected to perform the job of legislators for Edo State.
Is that matter in court at the moment or not?
I'm sorry?
Is the case in court at the moment or not?
I am not aware. All I know is that these people have gotten tired of waiting for 13 months or more for a job for which they were elected in the same way as Obaseki was elected as governor, right, and they have decided to take up their jobs.
Assuming you know that the case is in court, would it be right for them to go ahead and swear themselves in or participate in that action?
To the best of my knowledge, I do not know that the case is in court. To the best of my knowledge.
Assuming the case is in court.
And I've just told you that to the best of my knowledge, I do not know that this case is in court.
Can I put in the question? Assuming the matter is in court and those members are involved in the matter that is in court, would it be right for them to go ahead and take that action?
It would depend. It would depend on what the case is in court is all about. It would depend on what the case in court is all about.
If the
case in court is asking that these people should be prevented from coming into the House of Assembly and now they have forced themselves in, perhaps they should not have done that. But to the best of my knowledge, I do not know of any case that is in court.
Okay, well, let me bring it to Mr. Obaseki. Well, at the moment, you say you've got your back against the wall, your party. You don't have members up to 10. You have fewer members than those who are supporting the APC candidates. So they just think that you're between the devil and the deep blue sea at the moment.
Well, I just want to quickly say that all these things are just mere ramblings. I'm happy that Mr. Okonofua was answering himself, and your questions actually answered themselves. For him, if he's not aware, I will let him know that the other 14 members, when their seats were declared vacant, went to court in 2 different suits. One at the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt, one at the Federal High Court in Abuja, and they're still subsisting to date. I will also let him know that prior to that, on September 17, was the first judgment saying that the assembly was legal and inaugurated properly. So what they've done are 2 things. One, they are going to do what they did is not only an abuse of court processes. He's a lawyer. Thank God I'm a lawyer. It's not just an abuse of court processes, but also a contempt of a subsisting court judgment. Number 2, they are the ones who have gone to court in 2 different court cases. So in that instance, they are sub judice. That is sub judice. What they have done is sub judice. Number 3, I will state clearly that Mr. Malami has shown himself as a law officer, as a most partisan one, who decides to speak depending on what part of the party divide he's on. And what he has done is a vagrant abuse of the law. So that cannot exist. Number 3, he's aware that they went to inaugurate themselves. I don't want you to call it an inauguration. You don't inaugurate a House of Assembly. You proclaim a house. That is what it is in the face of the law. And it's properly proclaimed, and there's only one proclamation. It's left for them to go there and get inaugurated.
In other words...
Let me finish, sir. So now they have gone to forge a mace. Now we keep playing that down. When you forge a mace, you are forcefully taking over a part of government. So that is treasonable. That is treasonable.
Where is the original mace from your perspective?
The original mace, not my perspective, the original mace still lies with the speaker, with Mr. Okiye.
Okay.
The mace they use,
let him respond pointedly to that now. Mr. Okonofua, the mace that was used, was that a forged mace or not?
I'm sorry?
The mace that the members used, was it forged or not?
How could it be forged? How do you forge a mace?
Was it the real? Is that the real mace?
No, I mean, of course it was the real mace. Of course it was the real mace. And
is that the mace that the house has always been using?
Of course, that's the mace that the house should use. That's the mace they were using. Let me point out something to you very clearly. The judgment of the court did not say that this guy should not be sworn in. The judgment only said that the proclamation letter was in order. The judgment did not say that they could not enter into the house. So let's not turn the law on his head. What the judgment of the court said was that the proclamation letter issued by the governor was in order. And that did not preclude the 14 members or 17 members from being sworn in as members of the House of Assembly.
All right, Mr. Obaseki, at the moment, now that they've carried out that action, is the PDP going to challenge that in court, or what you think is right?
What should be done now is, I'm not in government. I am not in government. But what should be done right now is that the Nigerian police should go and arrest them. That's what should be done right now. Is not even the Nigerian police, the Department of State Security. They are a threat to the state, not Edo State, to the nation. They have committed felony. That is what that part, the very part of forging the mace is.
That is noted, Mr. Obaseki, but let's take this now to the fact that the people of Edo State are concerned. The number of people are saying that the heat is really getting hot. How comfortable do you think the electorate would be to come out and vote if this heat increases?
The heat will not increase. They've gotten to the very top of the barometer. The thermometer has gotten to its very top. What else are they going to do? What they have been trying to do is, as much as possible, make the state ungovernable, come up with things to scare the electorate, but it is the electorate themselves that went to block the takeover of the house. And that house has not been sitting there for more than a month, even before this quarrel started, because there have been ongoing renovations. But the poor people, some market women, went to block them. Look, let me put it to you. I believe we are the most educated set of voters in Nigeria. That is why Edo State will vote on the same day a PDP president, a PDP senator, and an APC House of Rep. And we have a state where you have, it's been on for quite a while, an APC sitting governor, and the two PDP senators, and more than half of the House of Assembly are PDP and half APC. So we are very educated. We know that all these are meant shenanigans, meant to distract us from going to exercise our rights. The Edo people will go to the polls, and they will vote, and they will defend their vote. What we all know now is this whole wahala has turned Edo State into, every Edo State man into a cubicle lawyer. We all know what is going down, and they are helping us and opening the scales of that is falling off, and it's falling off our eyes. Let me put this clearly, so that you what is going down here.
Let's wrap up, but make it quick.
Yes, 3 members of the constituted House of Assembly were the ones that went and elected a speaker pro tempore. To remove a speaker, the Nigerian Constitution states clearly that for you to remove a speaker, you don't need a majority vote. You need a minimum of 2/3 majority of the sitting members, of the inaugurated members. So even if you consider 14, if you consider 10, none of them, as presently constituted in the House of Assembly, can remove the Speaker of the House.
All right, I need to let Mr. Okonofua respond before we wrap up on this. Mr. Okonofua, quickly, could you respond to that? Is that right from the point of law?
Okay, well, first and foremost, the point that needs to be made is that what we have found is that I need to put the issues and
raise about the impeachment and the law so that we can wrap up in 30 seconds if you can, please.
No. What everybody should be concerned about is why should a governor elected on the platform of a political party, the APC, has the beautiful benefit of having
Mr. Okonofua, are you deflecting from the subject? Can you respond to the processes you spoke about?
Now you are talking about impeachment, the fear of impeachment. The
requirements of the law. Could you respond? We need to wrap up. That's my point.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. I mean, you were talking about the fear of impeachment.
All right, we need to go then. Pardon me. Well, we're out of time on this. We couldn't be going just back and forth. Well, thank both of you for talking to us today. Collins Okonofua, member of the APC, and Don Pedro Obaseki, member of the PDP. We will be back in just a moment. Please stay with us.